The cafe hushed, not in surprise at her appearance, but at the stark, sudden understanding that hit Armin. The cruel joke, whispered and giggled over by his coworkers, had materialized into the woman by the window. Sunlight poured over her, warming the curve of her shoulders as she cradled a teacup. Her gaze lifted as he approached, bright, inquisitive. He pulled out the chair, a soft scrape of wood against tile, and sat. She smiled then, a polite curve of lips, utterly unaware that their meeting was a calculated prank designed for the amusement of others. Armin, a systems analyst in Karachi, had always been a quiet presence, a man who kept to himself, his inner world, a fortress built around grief. 5 years ago, the sudden loss of his younger sister, Zoya, had collapsed something vital within him. Zoya, deaf from birth, had shared a unique language with Armen, a silent world of fluent Pakistani sign language, filled with laughter, shared secrets, and a bond so profound it transcended sound. When she died, the world became too loud, yet achingly empty. He stopped signing. His coworkers knew none of this. To them, he was simply the awkward, solitary man, ripe for their callous humor. So when one mentioned a deaf woman recently moved to the city, the idea of a blind date, unannounced, became a source of twisted entertainment. They craved the spectacle of his discomfort. Mehare sat opposite him, her hair loosely pulled back, her posture a picture of quiet steadiness. She was a graphic designer, dedicating weekends to volunteering at a school for children with hearing impairments. When Armin introduced himself softly, she tilted her head, reading his lips, then tapped her chest gently, signing her name. A raw, familiar ache tightened in Armen's throat. The fluid grace of her hands was a ghost, a whisper from a past he'd meticulously buried. He could have retreated, feigned ignorance, become the punchline. Instead, slowly, deliberately, he raised his own hands. He signed his name. Meher's eyes widened, a breathless flicker of surprise. Her lips parted, then curved into a smile that transformed her entire face, chasing away the last vestiges of tension. The cafe's hum receded. Their hands began to move, a silent dialogue bridging years they hadn't known they were missing. Outside, through the glass, 2 coworkers stood frozen, their smirks dissolving. The joke spectacularly backfiring. There was no awkwardness, no humiliation, only 2 people leaning into each other, their silent laughter echoing in a world that had, for a moment, stepped aside for them. The hours melted away. They spoke of childhood, of navigating a world often deaf to their needs, of grief, and the quiet resilience it forged. Armin, his hands trembling at first, spoke of Zoya, his words flowing through his fingers, unearthing buried sorrow. Mihar listened, her expression so soft, so understanding, that doors in his heart he'd believed permanently sealed began to creak open. Mehar shared her own journey, growing up in a small town where sign language was foreign, patiently teaching her parents until their home became a sanctuary of understanding. She spoke of the pervasive loneliness of being misunderstood and the quiet strength it took to carve out her place. Her eyes shone, not with bitterness, but with a deep, quiet pride. As the sun dipped, painting the pavement in streaks of gold, Armin felt something unfamiliar stirring within him. It was more than attraction. It was a recognition, a fragile, extraordinary gift, disguised as a cruel jest. The following weeks reshaped him. Saturday afternoons at the park near Clifton Beach became sacred, their silent conversations warming the benches, flowing effortlessly between them. A lightness settled on him at work. His shoulders less burdened, he confronted his coworkers, not with anger, but with a calm, raw honesty about Zoya and what sign language meant. Shame flickered in their eyes, followed by hesitant, awkward apologies. But the true transformation was his. One Saturday, Mehare invited him to the school where she volunteered. The classroom thrummed with the visible laughter of children, their hands dancing like birds. Memories of Zoya crashed over Armin. He hesitated, almost turning back. Instead, he stepped inside. A small boy with oversized glasses tugged at his sleeve, signing a clumsy greeting. Armin knelt, signed back, gently correcting him. The boy's face lit with triumph. Mihare watched, her gaze holding something deeper than admiration, a profound understanding. Day by day, Armin began to volunteer. What had been a painful echo of loss became a bridge to healing. He realized that loving Zoya didn't end with her absence. It lived on in every sign he taught, in every child who felt seen. Months later, under a sky brushed with sea air, Armin and Mehari stood on the same cafe patio where it had all begun. The world bustled around them, oblivious. He signed slowly, deliberately. Words weighted with renewed meaning. He told her she had given him back a piece of himself he thought was gone forever, that she had transformed a cruel joke into the most meaningful chapter of his life. Tears gathered in Mihar's eyes as she responded, her hands moving with unvarnished emotion. He had never been the punchline. She signed. He had always been the answer.